So I was looking online for some military publications, reports, studies from the past having to do with wargaming to explore future war. Pretty obvious topic. But in the process, I found this old study from 1999, 1999, yep, published by Rand. It's issues raised during the Army After Next Spring War Game. This is by Walter Perry, Bruce Perney, and John Gordon. Again, Rand, Arroyo Center. So issues raised during the Army After Next Spring War Game. What was being attempted at that time? A little more about Army After Next, but again, what were these issues? So the Army After Next was a project. It was led by TRADOC, Training and Doctrine Command. It was initiated by the Army Chief of Staff in February 1996. So, well, here we go. The project's goals were to link Force 21 or Army 21, which was I'm going to guess Army 21 was the output from Force 21 concept and experiments. Link Army 21 to a long-term vision of the Army, extending well into the 21st century. That all makes sense. Okay, so as part of the Army After Next project, TRADOC conducted a series of high-level war games. So what kind of war games, I'm wondering? But to explore issues affecting the development of the U.S. Army after about 2010. 2010, all right? So the 1998 Spring War Game was the third game in the series. So they were held at the Army War College. Interesting. Center for Strategic Leadership. Okay. Okay, so more. All right. Okay, so what were the? Okay, so they do go into game structure, game overview, and the issues. So issues, Army After Next issues. How can Army forces operate effectively when an enemy shields his forces with non-combatants? Okay, that has been experienced and will continue to be experienced. What kinds of Army forces would be best able to clear and secure cities without suffering unacceptable casualties? That issue is definitely still around. How can Army forces deploy rapidly enough to achieve a quick decision required by the NCA, that's National Command Authority? That is definitely still around. How can the Army conduct effective information operations against an enemy who decentralizes command and control? To what extent should Army forces be equipped and trained to operate effectively in coalition with foreign forces? That's almost a given. How might the Army contribute to post-conflict stability? Almost a given. How should commissioned and non-commissioned officers be trained and assigned to assure they make maximum use of the battle force's command potential or combat potential? And then what are appropriate roles for Army Reserve and National Guard forces? I mean, all of these to varying degrees are still pertinent. That makes me wonder how much of the entire Army After Next project is still pertinent to the Army today. And then it says other issues. What authority to employ space-based weapons should NCA pre-delegate to SYNC Space? That's Commander-in-Chief Space Command. How could the NCA prevent third countries from using nuclear weapons against each other? How could the NCA discourage use of commercial space assets to an enemy while increasing its own capability? Under what circumstances should the NCA authorize first? All right, I'm going to skip these last few. I think I got my questions. How much of Army After Next is still pertinent today, and what were the findings of this war game, and a little bit about the war game itself. Okay, here it says, okay, the Spring War Game was set in the year 2021. Now right around the corner. Interesting. Okay. 5 dominant themes cut across the 13 issues identified in this study, Rapid deployment into theater, still relevant. Asymmetric responses, still relevant. Urban warfare, still relevant. Homeland defense, still relevant. And information operations. Asymmetric response, urban warfare, rapid deployment. Okay, Army after next issues, the hugging tactic. Okay, that's the non-combatant shields. Urban warfare, deployment speed. All right, those are from the questions earlier. Recommendations. Develop a spectrum of concepts for the Army after next battle force. The current air mechanized concept has advantages: global self-deployment. Air mech forces, that sounds interesting. Deploy with organic tilt-rotor aircraft from their home bases, using a combination of intermediate staging bases, aerial refueling. So that means the Army needs intermediate staging bases. Vertical maneuver. Okay. So once in theater, air mech forces use their organic tilt-rotor aircraft for operational tactical mobility. Precision fire. Because it has limitations. Okay. All right, so there are serious limitations. What is the air mech concept they're referring to, though? Previous war games tended to demonstrate advantages of the current air mech. So these war games were looking at an air mech concept. So we'll explore ways to operate with allies. All right. Let's see. Game structure. All right. Spring War Game, SWG. Two connected two-sided games. Red versus blue and orange versus blue. Orange represented the New Nationalist Movement, a transnational criminal organization, interesting, a TCO that had established a de facto state in northern Sumatra. In addition, a separate India-Pakistan conflict was played within the game. So approximately 1 month. So first there was a political military workshop designed to establish national objectives for both red and blue. That's interesting. So isn't that interesting to take that into tabletop, hobby war games, where you play out a mini game up front, a mini political military game, which establishes your objectives and starting forces, and maybe also your allies and your interesting idea. All right, then we have a okay. Then you have a war phase. Then there was a war phase. Input, specialties, response players, adjudication. All right, players, adjudication. Yeah, so this is here we go. Tactical war games. Okay, so there was tactical modeling, usually 3 step. What were they using? All right, I'm going to guess. These were also kind of tabletop talk through war games at the tactical level. But they were designed to capture the tactical effects or results of the postulated red and blue 2021 forces. Then you have franchise games. So several other organizations. Okay, so basically special purpose war games to look just at sustainment and logistics, for example, or special operations or information operations or space operations. And you have workshops. Okay. All right, so this looks like this was essentially human adjudication So it's kind of like a tabletop exercise. Okay, special teams, free play. Here we go. The free play game. It was a free play game. Yes, it was. All right. Analysis. All right. Game over. All right. I'll get to this in the next video.